It was another quiet evening at the elementary school gym. The crowd had gone home, the stage lights dimmed, and only one man remained, Daniel, the school janitor. A single dad with worn-out shoes and calloused hands, he swept the floor with tired but steady movements. To most, he was invisible. But tonight, someone small, and someone powerful, was watching. The school gym was nearly empty, its echoes fading after the laughter and music of the evening's dance. Glitter still clung to the hardwood floor, and paper streamers drooped tiredly from the rafters. The janitor, Daniel, pushed his broom across the scuffed court with slow, practiced strokes. His back ached from long hours of work, but he didn't complain. For a single dad, this job was more than sweeping floors, it was food on the table, shoes on his daughter's feet, and a roof they could call their own. As he worked, his eyes caught on something unusual. In the corner, beneath the flicker of a dying string of fairy lights, sat a little girl. She was younger than most of the students who had just left, no more than 8 or 9. Her wheelchair rested at a gentle angle, her small hands folded tightly in her lap. She wasn't crying, but the sadness in her expression was unmistakable, eyes downcast, lips pressed into a thin line, as though holding back words she couldn't bring herself to say. Daniel paused mid-sweep. He knew that look. He had seen it in his own daughter's eyes once, when she felt left out, different, unseen. It was a look no child should carry. The remnants of the dance seemed to mock her loneliness. Balloons lay scattered, abandoned on the floor. The faint echo of music lingered in the air. Somewhere earlier in the night, her classmates had twirled, laughed, and spun under the sparkling lights. But she hadn't joined them. Instead, she had stayed on the sidelines, wheels locked, as if the dance floor was a world built for everyone but her. Her gaze drifted to the wide-open gym floor now, as though imagining herself gliding across it. There was a longing there, raw and unmistakable, that pulled at Daniel's heart. He rested his broom against the wall, wiping his hands on his faded work pants. He didn't see her as just a girl in a wheelchair. He saw her as a child who wanted to belong. And in that quiet, empty gym, Daniel made a choice, not to keep sweeping, not to walk past, but to step toward her with the same kindness he always hoped the world would show his own daughter. Daniel approached slowly, not wanting to startle the little girl. His boots made a soft squeak on the polished gym floor, and she lifted her head slightly when she noticed him. Her eyes were wide, cautious, but also hopeful, as if she wondered whether he was about to tell her she didn't belong there. Instead, Daniel crouched down so he was at her level, resting his elbows casually on his knees. He gave her the kind of smile that was both gentle and reassuring, the kind he used when his own daughter felt shy at school. "Hey there," he said softly. "Pretty big dance tonight, huh?" The girl nodded, but her lips stayed pressed together. She lowered her eyes again, fiddling with the edge of her dress, which was beautiful, lavender satin with tiny sequins that glittered faintly in the dim light. It was the kind of dress meant for twirling. Daniel tilted his head, noticing how carefully she had dressed for the occasion. Her hair had been braided neatly, and someone had placed a delicate ribbon through it. Clearly, she had come tonight with the same excitement every child felt before a dance. But something had gone wrong. "You know," Daniel said, lowering his voice conspiratorially, "I was sweeping the floor over there, and I thought I saw someone wishing they could dance." Her eyes flicked up to his, startled, as if he had just read her secret. He chuckled lightly. "Don't worry. I won't tell. But I've been told," he leaned a little closer, "that this floor works just fine for wheelchairs too." A flicker of light crossed her face, uncertain at first, then growing into a spark of possibility. Her hands stopped fidgeting. Daniel stood, brushing dust from his pants, and bowed dramatically like an old-fashioned ballroom dancer. "May I have this dance?" he asked, extending his hand with a grin. The girl hesitated, her small fingers hovering over her lap. For a moment, fear tugged at her, fear of being stared at, laughed at, or reminded again of what she couldn't do. But Daniel's eyes held none of that. They only held kindness. Slowly, almost shyly, she placed her hand in his. And with that single gesture, the janitor and the little girl began a dance that would soon change both of their lives. The music playing in the gym was upbeat, a pop song that had the kids laughing and twirling across the floor. But when Daniel began to gently guide the little girl's wheelchair, it felt like the entire world slowed down. He kept his movements light, playful, like he was letting her lead, spinning her in slow, graceful circles that made her ribboned hair sway with the rhythm. At first, she was stiff, gripping the arms of her chair tightly. But as Daniel hummed along with the music and exaggerated his own clumsy, dance steps, beside her, she began to giggle. Her shoulders relaxed. A sparkle lit her eyes that hadn't been there before. "You're a natural," Daniel teased warmly, stepping back as if admiring her technique. "I think you're showing me up." Her laughter bubbled louder, filling the gym with a sound so pure that even some of the kids on the dance floor turned to watch. Instead of staring cruelly, their expressions softened, curiosity melting into admiration. One brave boy clapped in rhythm, and soon a few others joined in, forming a circle around the pair. Daniel spun her chair again, this time with a dramatic flourish, raising his arm as though she were truly his ballroom partner. She lifted her chin higher, her face glowing with joy. In that moment, she wasn't a girl in a wheelchair, she was simply a dancer. For Daniel, the sight tugged at something deep in his chest. He thought of his own daughter, of the nights she'd been afraid she wouldn't fit in, and how desperately he wanted her to believe she was enough. He poured all of that love and encouragement into this moment, for this little girl who so badly needed to feel the same. The gym erupted in applause as the song came to an end. Breathless with laughter, the girl's cheeks were flushed pink, her eyes sparkling with a confidence she hadn't shown before. Daniel bowed again, grinning. "Best dance partner I've ever had." She looked up at him, her voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you, no one's ever asked me to dance before." Those words hit Daniel harder than any standing ovation could. His throat tightened, and he had to blink fast to steady himself. He squeezed her hand gently. "Well, that's their loss. But tonight, you showed everyone what they were missing." Unseen by Daniel, at the back of the gym, a woman stood frozen, tears shimmering in her eyes. She had watched every step of that dance, and she wasn't just anyone. She was the girl's mother. As the last notes of the song faded and the applause settled into a gentle hum of chatter, Daniel gave the little girl's hand one final reassuring squeeze. She beamed at him, cheeks flushed with joy, her laughter still echoing softly. He started to wheel her back toward her seat when the crowd suddenly shifted. A woman, elegant and commanding, stepped forward through the group of students and teachers who instinctively parted for her. Daniel almost didn't notice her at first, he was focused on keeping the girl comfortable, but then his eyes lifted and froze. The woman's presence carried a weight that was unmistakable. Her tailored coat, diamond earrings that caught the gym lights, and the subtle air of quiet authority made it clear, she wasn't just another parent. She was someone important. The little girl gasped. "Mom!" Her mother rushed forward, kneeling beside the wheelchair and gathering her daughter into a trembling embrace. "Sweetheart," she whispered, her voice breaking, "I saw everything. You were incredible." Tears spilled freely, leaving tracks down her perfectly made-up face. Daniel, unsure of his place in this deeply personal moment, took a respectful step back. His calloused hands tightened around the wheelchair handles, ready to slip away quietly. He had only wanted the girl to feel seen, to belong. He hadn't done it for recognition. But the mother looked up, her gaze locking onto him. Her eyes, still brimming with emotion, studied him intently. She began, her voice unsteady. "You didn't have to do that. Most people wouldn't have. But you did." Daniel shifted uncomfortably, scratching the back of his neck. "She just deserved a dance," he said simply, his voice humble. "Every kid does." The mother's lip trembled as though his words had pierced straight through her heart. She stood, smoothing her coat, and extended her hand toward him. I don't think you realize what you've given her tonight. For the first time in months, I saw her light up. You didn't just give her a dance, you gave her hope. The gym fell into a hush. Students and teachers, still lingering from the performance, watched in stunned silence. For Daniel, it felt surreal, this wealthy, powerful woman thanking him, a janitor, as though he'd done something extraordinary. But in his heart, he knew the truth. He hadn't changed the world. He had only chosen kindness in a moment when it mattered most. What he didn't realize was that for this mother, watching her daughter glow with joy, that single act of kindness had changed everything. The next morning, Daniel arrived at the school early, mop bucket rattling softly across the hallway tiles. The gym was quiet now, stripped of decorations from the night before. Only faint traces of laughter and music lingered in the air. He smiled faintly, remembering the little girl's joy, then bent back to his work. It was just another day, or so he thought. As he turned a corner, his heart nearly stopped. Standing in the hallway, waiting for him, was the girl's mother. No makeup, no diamonds, no air of grandeur, just a woman in a simple sweater, her daughter resting in the wheelchair beside her. The girl lit up at the sight of him. Mr. Daniel, she called, her voice ringing like music. Daniel's throat tightened, but he forced a smile. Hey, kiddo. How's my favorite dance partner? The girl giggled, clapping her hands. Her mother knelt beside her, brushing a lock of hair from her face before turning to Daniel. Her eyes were softer now, stripped of last night's intensity, filled instead with quiet gratitude. I couldn't let another day pass without thanking you properly, she said. You gave my daughter something I haven't been able to give her in months. Pure happiness. Daniel shifted awkwardly, gripping the mop handle. Really, it was nothing. Just a dance. She did all the hard work. But the mother shook her head firmly. No. It wasn't nothing. When I watched you kneel beside her, treat her as an equal, as someone worthy of joy and celebration, it meant everything. To her. To me. Her voice broke, and she blinked back tears. The girl tugged at Daniel's sleeve. Mom says you're a hero. Daniel chuckled softly, crouching to meet her eyes. Heroes wear capes, kiddo. I just wear this old janitor uniform. Her mother smiled through her tears. Maybe so. But sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones who never expect to be noticed. She paused, then added, I'd like to help you. Not as charity, but as recognition of the kindness you've shown. You gave us hope. Let me give something back. For the first time in a long while, Daniel felt the weight of his struggles, the bills, the long nights, the quiet exhaustion. But also the warmth of something he hadn't felt in years, the sense that he wasn't invisible. As he looked from the grateful mother to the beaming girl, he realized the truth: kindness, no matter how small, always comes back full circle. And in that quiet school hallway, the janitor, the billionaire, and her daughter were bound together by one simple truth: humanity is richest when shared.